Hey guys, welcome to Footy Banter and Insights. We are here today to discuss the reaction from the United Liverpool game and to see what kind of things could have happened differently in the game. So we'll start with Manan, who's a big United fan. So Manan, what were your views on the game today?
The result was pretty disappointing, Yui. We started the first couple of minutes. We started very well. We were spraying the ball around, good passing, good coordination. But after the first sort of momentum broke down, I think it was all Liverpool from there. There were a lot of individual mistakes and a lot of team mistakes also. Passing was very poor. But I'm not as disappointed as I should be with the scoreline. Like I do see there are some elements which are better than last year, not just with the new players that we've recruited, but in general the overall play. So, so I'm hoping that after the international break we can perform better.
Okay. What were your thoughts on Casemiro?
Oh, he was so poor, yeah. He was so poor. In fact, I had sort of changed my perception of Casemiro a bit after the first couple of games. He was poor in the preseason as well, and he was good against Fulham and also against Brighton last week. But he's playing more as a number eight now. I think in his head he's more number eight or number 10, not a number six. But he doesn't have the passing range to be a number eight or a number 10 either. And so he lost the ball a lot. I think in the first half, he was the player who lost the ball the most on the pitch. And the first two goals were directly a consequence of his errors in passing. So I'm glad that he was taken off and Collier performed much better. But we can't wait to get Ugarte in, like, really.
What were your
What did you
views on the
guys
start?
think?
So yeah, I wanted to ask a couple of more questions from a United fan. So when I saw the United lineup, I was very surprised by the omission of Diallo. So, what were your views? Do you think he should have started the game?
I was surprised with his omission as well. He had performed better last game than the first match, and he was clearly the best winger for United in the last match, I feel. And I had thought that if Garnacho was supposed to come in, he would have come in for Rashford and not for Diallo. So, and you could see his impact once he came on. Ahmad. He was really good. He was very direct. He was taking the left back on and beating him multiple times as well. So, so yeah, I was a bit surprised that Ahmad did not start.
Okay. So, my views on this were I think, in terms of the lineup, I was happy to see Zirkzee start. I think him
Mhm.
playing up front with Bruno behind him is a better combination than Bruno as a false nine or someone who's leading the line. But I think United were extremely wasteful in the final third. Like there were so many chances which United had. One good killer pass would have, literally put them behind the Liverpool defense, one on one with the goalie, and I think they could have actually scored two or three goals in the first 20 minutes by the way the things were going. Completely agree with what you said. Like the first 2 minutes, United came out, in a very, very strong way. And I thought, wow, this is a very different United to what we are used to seeing. And it was end to end for a long time, right? It didn't feel like a KG match. It felt like more of a very, very fast paced. Uh, I would almost say like a cup match rather than a Premier League match. And even Liverpool, for me, were quite wasteful initially. I think the Arnold goal, it was very unfortunate, like almost reminiscent of the Zirkzee goal in the last game. I think very unfortunate it did not get given, but fairly so. And then over a period of time, I think Liverpool dominated. And once they came into it, then Luis Diaz was brilliant on the day. I think the goals and the finishes were too good. Varun, what was your view? As an Arsenal fan, did you
I
enjoy seeing this game?
I did enjoy seeing the game, but I would just say that there were parts of the game where the quality of football was just not up to the standard that you would expect from a Liverpool United kind of a match. Um, and I feel the difference between the two teams was the midfield. Right, Liverpool just dominated the midfield in this game, with the likes of Saboslai, McAllister, Gravenberch. It was a complete domination in the midfield, according to me. And even after Casemiro went off in the second half and Collier came in, nothing changed. According to me, nothing changed. And Liverpool kept dominating that midfield battle, and that's where they won the game. To top it up, the finishing by Luis Diaz, as you mentioned, extremely clinical, right? And later we saw Xerxes miss a gilt edge opportunity. Uh, So I mean, overall, it was, if I was a United fan, I would be really really disappointed with this performance.
So I was seeing the game with a couple of United fans, one person who's been a fan for about 20 odd years now. And like, I think before the game began, he was not very positive. And once the game began, he started cursing the various players in and around. So it was fun being around him to see his reactions in a match which that doesn't affect me directly. So I think it was a good change of pace.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for as I said, for a neutral, it was as a spectacle. It was fun. But I'm just saying, from a quality point of view, the quality of football on display, at least from the United standpoint, wasn't that great at all. And I mean, there were a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of unforced errors. Um, I think it was overall a really poor performance by United.
So what could United have done differently? And I'll open this to both of y'all. So let's say if you guys were in Ten Hag's shoes, how would you have organized your team better? And what could you have done differently or Ten Hag would have done differently to kind of get at least something out of the game to show progress?
So I don't think it's a sort of a Ten Hag issue in terms of setting up the team. It's maybe related to coaching in terms of players passing better. I think there's one clear weakness in how Ten Hag wants to play, and then there's a personnel issue where Andre Onana. I didn't know much of him before he came to United, but from whatever I had read and seen clips, he seemed to be like the ball playing goalkeeper after Edison and Allison. And in his season and a few games this season, I haven't really felt that he's that good with his feet. Like he doesn't distribute so well from whatever I've seen, and I think that is a big problem for United in terms of playing out from the back. Also, I mean, it takes time for the chemistry to come playing out from the back. So I don't think Ten Hag set up the team so as poorly as one might think looking at the result. I think there were a lot of individual errors. Bruno once in a while has those games where like none of his passes reach where they are supposed to reach, and unfortunately against Liverpool it happens a bit more than any other team. I suppose I remember when we had lost 7-0. Was it last season or the season before that? I don't remember which season. But in that game as well, like Bruno was very, very poor. So he had just one of those games. Also, I feel Menu hasn't really started the season very well. So that's also an issue. And Casemiro. We discussed a bit about him. So Licha also has not been very good with his passing. Like there were many moments in the first half, if you see, and also the early part of the second half, where Onana, Licha, they wanted to pass the ball out, but they were just not able to find anyone to pass to. Was it an issue with the passing quality or their vision, or was it an issue with players not making themselves available, or was it just Liverpool being very, very good with their press? I think it was number three, that Liverpool was just too good with their press. But but yeah, I think playing out from the back was also a challenge today.
Okay.
But Manan, you expect that from Liverpool, right? You expect Liverpool to be really good at in the press, right? So you need to
Mhm.
prepare for that, right? And how? all most of these players have played Liverpool multiple number of times and they know how Liverpool plays. So it's kind of, I feel it's just like that calmness and composure over the ball that's lacking in the,
But they've not
and
played
that's
with
not with
each
like
other.
sorry.
They've not played with each other. So the
Uh,
chemistry is
I
not
mean,
there.
I mean, Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno have played together in the midfield, right? It's not as if they are playing with each other for the first time. I just feel that that calmness and composure that you need in big games, right, is kind of completely absent from their game. Uh, you see, you compare it to say, suppose you see like the Real Madrid midfield, right, and they played Champions League finals, they play Champions League knockout games, and you see Cruz and Modric in the midfield, right? How they control the speed of the game, right? They are so calm. The composure levels are at another level, correct? You don't see it from this United midfield at all. Now, Ugarte can come in. Of course, like for me, Ugarte is more like a ball-winning midfielder rather than a person who will be able to distribute that well, and that's kind of the perception I have of him. But will he kind of be the one who controls the dictates the tempo of the game? I don't think so. Correct. So of course you can bring in a player like him. Correct. For me, I think of when I think of Ugarte, I think of someone like Torreira that was there at Arsenal. Correct. He's like that little pit bull who will run, um, like tackle the opposition players, win the ball back. But I think in big games you need that composure over the ball. That's very important.
But I think you can't really compare Modric and Cruz with a Menu
No, no,
or a Bruno. So,
no,
like, I mean,
not directly
Casemiro,
comparing. I'm just saying ki, you can see the difference in the composure that actually a midfield should have in like tough games, right? In tough pressure games, you need midfielders who are more composed over the ball.
so I mean, Menu has been that player who has shown composure over the ball in big matches earlier as well. So maybe it was a day off. I particularly do not think he started the season very well. I don't think he's sort of come back to his game yet. Of course, he's so young. He is allowed to have such kind of games and such kind of periods of inconsistency. But Casemiro is a big game player. I mean, he's won what 4 or 5 Champions Leagues, so we cannot say that he's not a big game player. He's just past it in terms of uh, being everywhere how he used to be. And then he also had Cruz and Modric with him to sort of hide his deficiencies, right? Where now he has Menu and Bruno. Now Bruno is a big game player, but he doesn't have a very high successful pass percentage. He's a risk-taking player. He takes a lot of risks, and sometimes he'll have games like this, and he has games like this where he doesn't really have like his passes don't reach their destination. So I think I think it's a one-off game in a way. Like if you see the FA Cup final last year, even though we didn't have a lot of possession, we still controlled the game in a way by not having the ball. So it will take time. It's an evolving team. A lot of individual errors, a lot of lack of chemistry today, and I'm not happy with the result at all. But I don't think it's like the end of Ten Hag or it's doomsday yet.
A couple of thoughts on how quickly and how well Liverpool are doing under Arne Slot. Like it doesn't seem to be that this is a
Definitely.
new manager who's come in and it just seems to have fit in like a glove, right? Like it's amazing identification of talent and then putting the team together in such a short span of time. Varun, would you like to add
Totally.
any views?
No, no. Extremely pleasantly surprised with how Liverpool have played so far in the first 3 games. I mean, the manager is doing a great job, according to me. The midfield is clicking. The defense looks much more solid, surprisingly, right? And I think even Gravenberch has come in and kind of settled in very well, and he looks like a great player in this kind of a setup. So, ball carrying midfielder, I think overall they have done great. I mean, even Luis Diaz, after a long injury last season, he came back. He was not in the great form, but this year he's kind of started on fire. So overall, great uh, play by Liverpool so far in the first three games.
Manan, any views from your end regarding Liverpool?
So I think it's easier to manage this Liverpool team. It was already set. The transition sort of had happened last year. Like you can call last year as a transition year because they completely overhauled their squad last year with a lot of midfielders being out. And I think what Slot has done is he's gone to a double pivot with Gravenberch and McAllister, and that has helped both of them, and that has helped them defensively. So Slot has been a great addition, and I think the structure in the football structure at Liverpool is strong, which has helped them identify Slot as a very good manager to succeed Klopp. And he's done very very well. But I think his job was easy. Like I mean, I would not call easy, but easier than many other jobs out there.
Okay.
But I feel it's always tough to come in after a personality like Klopp. It is not. See, Klopp was a personality that dominated that dressing room, that dominated the hearts and minds of the fans over there, right? And coming in after that kind of a personality, having that kind of a calming influence, making sure the team has settled down really well, making sure they are well prepared going into the season, not getting phased out by the facts that okay, you have just done one signing this season, looking at the stability of the players that are there. I think overall he's done a good job, I would say.
No, completely echo the sentiment. I think any managerial change is never easy. Ask a Chelsea fan. And to get people on board with that is amazingly difficult, right? And you look at every aspect. You look at the fact that Salah is having possibly his best season in a while in the first three games now. He looks much more fitter. He's assisting. He's scoring goals. And again, I think
He
this is the
has
seventh.
less hair, so he's better aerodynamically.
Sorry,
He has less hair now, so he's better aerodynamically.
Acha.
Salah.
Fair point. Fair. So this was his seventh goal against United, if I'm not wrong. So I think one of the teams that he
In-
loves scoring against. And if I look at the way he has, even like for example, Varun mentioned Gravenberch. Now this is a player who last season wasn't performing at his best, but the way he's performing right now, it seems like a completely different player. It's like how Wijnaldum had that kind of influence in that team, right? I think this is the sort of influence this guy can have now. And like Nunez has not started any of the games, so he's clearly identified where his team is going to shape up, and he's like, you have a 75 million pound player in your team, and you're not starting him, so he's very clear in his ideas what he wants to do. Until the time Darwin Nunes actually steps up, he'll not play him. So I think it's again a good decision and a tough decision, but he is backing it up and he's getting the results.
It's also good for them because there are a few players who are in a position where they could leave as well, right? You have Salah who could leave, Trent is in a contract negotiation phase, even Van Dijk, and then that's why Liverpool getting a manager and who's able to stabilize the performance on the pitch will make it easier for them to actually renew contracts with these players if they want to, right? So that kind of stability is very important, I feel, both on and off the pitch.
So after the first three games, do you guys feel that City, Arsenal, and Liverpool are the three contenders for the title, or too early to tell?
I think
Um,
it's City and Liverpool.
Oh, really? Arsenal not contenders? Very, very
I
surprising.
don't, I don't think so.
Okay.
um, Again, I think it's too early to call this. Again, and this season actually I think can go anyway, right? Like um, so far, City, I think. it's just Haaland is carrying them on their shoulder, right? An injury to Haaland can kind of derail their season as well. But I mean, as we have discussed before as well, Guardiola is pretty good at finding solutions to things. Um, Similarly, with Arsenal, I think we are going to, of course, discuss that game separately as well. But I think this was two important points dropped at home to Brighton, and in a title race like this, you cannot afford to drop these points. And Liverpool, of course, surprisingly, they are looking unbelievably good right now. Although it's like early days, so let's see.
But
Okay.
Varun, do you think it's really surprising? I mean, this is a Liverpool team, pretty much the same squad. 10 games before end of last season, they were favorites to win the league. I don't know if you guys remember. They were top of the table and favorites to win the league. So I don't think it's very surprising that Liverpool are playing well or like this well. I sort of
I just
feel
feel
that
there
they
is a
underperform.
I just feel there is a personality of the manager that has left. I thought that will create a big gap over there in the dressing room, correct? But clearly, the new manager has come in and actually done exceptionally well. I feel so. Even in the season previews that we were doing, there were some people who were actually not very confident that Liverpool will end up top four as well, right? UV, if you
Mhm.
remember. So, but I mean, I feel like, see, again, it's um, one injury to say someone like McAllister or Saboslai, um, an injury to Salah or Van Dijk can actually have a big impact on the season, according to me. So let's see. It's a long season. We are just 3 games in, but definitely these three teams, I think top three, and then someone like United, Chelsea, probably Villa to fight for the top fourth spot, I would say, and probably Spurs, which I hope not.
Guys, closing thoughts on the United Liverpool game, and then we begin a roundup of the weekend's games. Does anyone have any views they want to share about this specific game now?
Um, Again, like long, like I would say, a tough road ahead for United. A lot of work needs to be done on the training field. Um, I think a lot of new players have come in. Even Xerxes in the first half didn't look quite as settled as other players on the field. So I think like Ten Hag has a lot of work to do with this team. So let's see.
This defeat has come at a very wrong time because now we have the international break and there's going to be so much media pressure and so much scrutiny around the club. And he won't have players also to train them. So let's see how it goes. I'm not really very positive of getting any good news for the next 2 weeks. It's just good to have another game to back the previous game up when you have such kind of a result. And it's very
Yeah.
unfortunate that Ten Hag doesn't have a lead.
Well, post the international break, there's going to be a baptism of fire, right? A game every 3 days. So I think
Yeah.
that'll help everyone in that aspect. So I think just to sum up one thing, I think coaching plays a really big part, which I think Manan and Varun both mentioned, and just highlighting the points of specific coaching. So the distance between the players, how long a ball to play, whether it's a 5 meter ball or a 10 meter ball, when the ball is played to the person, what is the movement of the other people around them to create that additional space. I think having seen most of Chelsea's games this season and in the preseason and in the last few years, I think Maresca has done a good job in coaching them. And I think somewhere along the line, I feel Ten Hag, I don't know if he's actually spending so much of time actually coaching these players or not, or whether it's his responsibility or not, or his coaching team's responsibility. But somewhere along the line, I feel the actual basic coaching is kind of lacking in this United setup. Until the time they kind of fix that at the ground level, I think they'll get some results here and there, but, uh, it may not be a sustaining kind of an environment.
I mean, I'm just looking at the first goal that United conceded today, right? And of course, like everyone out there is blaming Casemiro for that misplaced pass, correct? But if you actually look how the gameplay happened, Casemiro, of course, it wasn't the inch perfect pass. He was trying to pass it to Mainu, but Mainu was on a completely different wavelength, not expecting the pass at all, right? So can you like it's like the players are there, but I don't know, for some reason they are just not on the same wavelength, kind of a thing. Probably if Menu was expecting that pass, it kind of wouldn't have resulted in that goal, I think. So there's one way to look at it, that okay, fine, it was a misplaced pass by Casemiro. Another way to look at it would be like, okay, the players themselves are not kind of uh,
In sync with
like
each other.
understand, yeah, in sync with each other, right? So it's it's overall, as a team they are not functioning properly, I feel, right? You cannot pick an individual player and say that, oh, this because of him we lost, or because of that player we lost. I think it's the entire team in totality that's not doing well.
So as I said, it's a chemistry problem also, right? Like this is what chemistry is, that the player knows that the pass is going to come to him. So that is the chemistry problem. But I think the difference between Ten Hag and a Maresca or a Slot or any of these other managers is, I feel he came in, I felt that he's a system manager. That okay, this is how I want to play and this is how I'm going to play. Results don't matter. We are just going to get better at it, and eventually results will come. But I've noticed that he's not really developed a system yet, and that I think is the biggest problem, because first year we were playing a certain way, and then the second year we tried to play different way. It didn't come off, and we moved to like a 4-2-4 kind of system towards the last few matches of the season, and that's how we started this season. And now we've moved again to like a 4-2-3-1, and the style of play is also different, like not just the system, but like sometimes I feel we are trying to sort of pass out from the back, and then sometimes it just goes long balls and transitions again. I think he needs to clear that out for sure. And once he decides that this is how I want to play, I think the players will be more receptive and they'll perform better as well.
Okay. Thank you, Manan. Thank you, Varun. I think we have discussed the United Liverpool game quite a lot now. So let's go to the wrap up of the entire game week. We'll be switching over from live to a recorded session now.